Hey, good morning, Mizzou fans. Gabe DeArmond here, PM in the AM for Thursday, June 12th. We're talking, what else are we talking? We're talking revenue sharing. This afternoon, about 1 o'clock, we're going to get a chance to talk to Mizzou Director of Athletics, Laird Veach, with the House settlement going final last week, at least for the time being. We'll see if it holds up to legal challenges. But everybody going to have up to $20.5 million to distribute to its athletes. Missouri is going to hit that threshold. So let's talk today about how Missouri should spend this money, how it should be divided up. I'm not sure if we're going to get those specifics from Laird Veach or not. We are certainly going to ask. Here's the first thing to know, and I'm going to double check this today, but what I've learned this week is SEC schools, although the number is actually 20.5, SEC schools across the board are dedicating $2.5 million of that money to new scholarships. Laird Veach has said Missouri is going to have up to $3 million in new scholarships. My impression was that was separate from this $20.5 million. I believe it is not. Across the board, SEC schools are spending 2.5 on new scholarships, so it's going to be about 18 million for each school, not 20.5 million. Now we get to how do you divide that money up? Some schools have publicly said what they're going to do. Others have kind of intimated it. Some have said nothing. Missouri right now in the having said nothing camp. We'll see if that changes this afternoon. But if you're dealing with $18 million, I think a general benchmark is 75% of this is going to go to the football program. So 75% of 18 million, doing that top of head math, $13.5 million to football players. Then about 15% is going to go to men's basketball. So that's $2.7 million. That adds up to 16.2. That leaves $1.8 million, 10%. Schools are kind of dividing that number between sports. Now, which sport depends on which school you're at. Arkansas, for example, I've heard is going to, dedicate more to baseball. Iowa's going to include wrestling and women's basketball in that. I believe LSU has designated 6 sports, so 4 beyond football and men's basketball. So if you're Laird Veach, how do you spend that money at Mizzou? Again, it's only $1.8 million. It's not a ton, but it is difference-making money. Do you put that money into baseball where even with that money, you're well behind everybody else in the SEC? That's what a lot of SEC schools will do. I think if you're Missouri, you look at 3 sports: softball, gymnastics, and wrestling. Those are the 3 sports where Missouri has been good. If you want to throw volleyball in there, you can, but I don't think anybody's probably going to spend much of this money on volleyball. So I don't know, maybe that's a route you go. But if I'm Missouri, I look at softball, gymnastics, and wrestling. Do I spend money on all 3 of those things? I'm not sure. Obviously, there are more softball players on the roster than there are wrestling or gymnastics. Maybe this money can make a pretty big difference in gymnastics, which is already up and running and doing very well, finished 3rd in the country last year. So if you dedicate a little bit of that $1.8 million to gymnastics, maybe you can get yourself a national title. That would be a big deal at Missouri. Wrestling, hey, Brian Smith's done a lot, probably deserves a cut of that money. Softball, I think there will be some schools that dedicate money to that. Missouri has a pretty good history in softball, obviously, has fallen off here a little bit last year. So do you use some of that money to try to get back to where you were? Or do you say, kind of like baseball, hey, even if we pour that money into softball, everybody else probably doing it too. Maybe our money's better spent on wrestling and gymnastics and maybe even volleyball. Be interesting to see. One other thing Missouri could do is maybe they give a little bit more than 15% to men's basketball because there is some history here. It's going to be interesting to see how everybody divvies this money up. And also if this is a thing that we actually get numbers on and get to find out, or if we're kind of left to guess at how everybody's doing it. Some answers hopefully coming from Laird Veach here in a few hours. We'll certainly have a lot on that on Power Mizzou this afternoon, tomorrow, and through the weekend. Everything we hear from Laird Veach. Appreciate you hanging out. Would Give me your thoughts. Where should this money go? Again, we know a bulk of it's going to football and men's basketball. I wouldn't actually have a problem with all of it going to football and men's basketball. But with the leftovers, what do you think Missouri should do? Let us know in the comments over on the message boards. Like, comment, share, subscribe while you are here. And I will talk to you tomorrow.